We're doing a little garage sail. Made first pass shaping the chine inlay. I think it's pretty close. A couple of little high spots still, and I haven't gotten into the veneer. So start around on the starboard side here. Our sail was fun. While we were doing that, I made the parts to lay in on the transom corners here, and I think we got touch up on this piece, and it's time to glue all that on. Just sort of laid it in and traced a line and tried to get pretty close to it. Alright, we got the pieces around the transom, transition from the stem to the piece down the middle there, keelson cap or whatever we're going to call it. Just minimal screws just to make sure that you really slop the epoxy in there and it's not moving. And we'll let that cure up, and then we can start making the strips, probably wetting them down to take this curve. Yep, pretty happy with the stem cap or cutwater or whatever. We got our gradual disappearance down into the slot. Looks like it's going to work out pretty well. The bottom one's cut at a 30-degree angle. Most of this top piece will probably be gone by the time this is shaped. Make this piece and install it. And we're really close then to being able to put the epoxy on, fill the holes, get ready for glass. Just a review of this thing, which was new to me. I'm really happy with it. I wanted was the actual corner, the chine, to appear in this Sapele strip. Right about here on both sides of the boat, it barely does. And the reason is the 5/16 inch width needed to totally accommodate that exposed edge of the plywood, which gets the fattest right about there, until I gave up and then did a precision-ish cut. So probably the thing to do in the future is to come back a little bit further where the angle's not quite so flat and start the precision cut back. A little bit about screw holes. We could fill them now and then do epoxy with glass. I don't like the idea of filling with, I mean, there's a couple of things you can do. What I prefer is filling them with epoxy putty, thickened epoxy with sawdust to color it. But I don't want that to sort of smear into the grain. When we get this first coat of epoxy on, I think it's better to have that and then fill the holes, sand that, and then you can put the fiberglass epoxy coat on top of that. Well, getting mighty close. Still a little bit of it and make this last Sapele piece. We know now how tall it needs to be. This is the steepest angle, so this will be the tallest piece. Half an inch will do. 30-degree angle and cut up to the dagger board. Got our 30-degree there. Fits down in on our 30 here. So I think we've got the next round of gluing. Well, just when I was thinking we were getting close, I had the big heater up against here, and this seam popped loose. And that's bad news. There's a lot of stress right through here. So, re-torque down and put some epoxy putty inside. I think the situation is that this inlay thing, which is new for me, it's one thing when you're carving a section where the 1x1 behind here is not overly impacted, but as these pieces become a butt joint, and there's only 3/4 of an inch of that pine strip behind there, removing 5/16 out of that means there's not a lot of glue surface for the two sides. So I'm not sure. I think we can make it work. Once the boat's right side up, we can epoxy putty and really strengthen it. I'm not worried about that. But I am worried about being able to get a clean, rounded surface here. Well, took our reclamp off of here, and it's disappointing. I wanted a nice clean seam across this. But I think we can make it work, and it's strong. I got a epoxy caulking all behind here. I think the lesson if I build another boat like this is before carving the channel for this inlay, go ahead and do the epoxy caulking, especially up here where where the lap onto the stringer is pretty narrow. So much easier to do the caulking when the boat's right side up, but that's the takeaway, I guess. Alright, got this shaped. Pretty happy with this. I did sand over this bad spot. I think epoxy putty in here, we can kind of make it go away. I think I'm going to take the plunge and get the first coat of epoxy on here. Count is very important. Another big milestone. Just get a sealing coat on here and be able to do some putty work without fear of smearing into the grain too bad. Grain is just gorgeous, even though it's still very early first coat. I really like. Got a little dimple there and a matching dimple here. It's almost like planning it. And I'm really happy with this. I like how the transom looks with the inlay around it, and that little piece came out well. So we'll mix up some putty and see if we can get that to set up. Filling all these holes, and I'm sure there are probably better ways to do it, but I like the idea that this is epoxy pushed all the way down in there, and the fact that there's a coat on here means I don't have to worry too much about smearing it around. I can sand pretty aggressively with an 80 grit orbital. After the sanding and cleanup, it's fiberglass time, I think. It's been probably 10 hours, and it's only going to get harder. So I'm going to take a pass, and to do that, we'll do try the 80 grit orbital and see how that goes. Quite a nasty job, even though this stuff isn't fully cured. It kind of turns into ball bearings. So that's 1/4. Keep on going. All right, last quadrant here. I thought I'd show a little bit of what this looks like. Of removing the orange peel, which is pretty easy, versus getting the putty off, which it rolls and rolls. Let's see if this is a better angle. Seriously considering starting the glass. Tape off the dagger board trunk again. The holes are all filled.